Yeah, so thank you so much, everyone, for joining this evening. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us for this session, despite it being the last session of Sankalp. So we really appreciate, the fact that you're able to join us this evening. For those of us that joined, yesterday, again, we do appreciate you coming in and interacting with the entrepreneurs that we had for both the slumber parties, all the way from the early stage to early to growth stage. And today we are actually having the growth stage entrepreneurs actually pitch to us. So we are really grateful for you taking the time to join us this evening. That said, again, if you want to interact with any of the entrepreneurs that you had pitch during both days, please feel free to get in touch with us directly, either Ariel or I, and we'll give you sort of, rights to access the materials of these companies. And if you also want, a direct introduction, would be happy to do so. Same applies to all the entrepreneurs for today. So today we have the growth stage companies that are pitching to us. Format remains the same for those of you who are joining us for the first time. Each entrepreneur will have about 10 minutes to pitch their business or to explain to you what their business model is. And then you'd have about, 10 minutes to sort of interact in terms of question and answer. So please feel free to use the chat box or please feel free to use the raise hand feature and we'll be able to unmute you for you to speak. Again, if you want any introductions to be facilitated, we are happy to do so ourselves. For today, we'll have 4 entrepreneurs pitch to us. And I just see Oliver from Hello Tractor has joined. So David, we may have to hold on that. So I think, Oliver, if you can hear us, we'll let you go first, and then we'll have David go next, and then we'll have Julian go next. So that's the agenda for the day. We only have 4 companies, so please bear with us, in terms of time. We hope to be done by at least 9 p.m. East African time. And for those of you joining us, from Europe and USA, good morning, and I hope you've had your coffee.
My name is Jill Oliver. I'm the founder and CEO of Hello Tractor. We're an agricultural technology company. We develop IoT tools for agricultural equipment owners to remotely manage their equipment, their workforce, maintenance needs of their equipment, and also connect with smallholder farmers in need of tractor services. So we came into this market some 6 years ago because farmers across the emerging markets plant late their land and lose income because they don't have access to the equipment that they need to maximize productivity. And a lot of that has to do with the rapid urbanization trends that we see, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, aging farm population trends as well. And so with this depletion of labor, one would expect mechanization to really take hold. It is an ideal solution to a loss of labor, and certainly it benefits the farmer, but mechanization just isn't happening at scale. And as a result, these farmers are reliant on manual labor that's often not available. This manual labor is 40 times slower than what a machine can do. It's actually much more expensive, which is probably surprising to most people. And then, of course, tractors are just really efficient in making sure that crop is established on time with even spacing and planted at the right depth, and that improves the yields. And so you have to ask yourself, in such an environment, why isn't mechanization happening at scale? And a lot of it has to do with the fragmented nature of smallholder farmers. It makes it very difficult for machine owners to identify who their customers are and reach those customers in an efficient way. Also, tractors are expensive. And so a lot of people with the means to invest in agricultural equipment often sit in urban areas like Nairobi, where I sit today, and aren't necessarily comfortable sending a $30,000 piece of equipment, 200, 300 kilometers outside the city to service their customer base, who are all, of course, farmers. And then lastly, of course, there are significant capital constraints in our markets. This is across almost all asset classes, but it is particularly pronounced in the agricultural industry, which tends to be one of the more underserved markets for capital. And so that's left a significant gap in the market. The mechanization across sub-Saharan Africa is significantly lower than the global average, where you average roughly 200 tractors per 100 square kilometers of arable land. The Africa average is 8 tractors per 100 square kilometers. So there's a huge gap that needs to be filled. So we came into the market with a solution to that problem. And we started with just providing technology for a machine owner to feel more secure with their equipment through a monitoring device that's now embedded onto the tractor. And we focus on a segment of the market that has traditionally come with no technology. So we were kind of first to market to introduce telematics GPS monitoring for sub 100 horsepower tractors. And these are the tractors overwhelmingly used in the emerging markets and also for contracting activities, meaning I bought the tractor to deliver services. So once that telematics device is embedded onto the tractor owner through our mobile and web applications have full visibility into where my tractor is, fuel consumption, my operator's usage of the tractor. We use analytics to identify exactly how much work was completed with the tractor. This is all really mission critical data. And then lastly, there's a booking and fulfillment component where these tractor owners are being connected to farmers booking for services through community-based agents who use our booking application to organize fragmented demand into clusters and ensure that those bookings come in and service delivery happens at economies of scale. We most recently partnered with MasterCard on a pay-as-you-go tractor finance product, and that's really the genesis for my conversation today with you all. And it's a tool that allows our customers and our partners to come together, merging capital in a high demand area that's also high impact, that provides on a risk-adjusted basis above market returns. And I'll talk through how we accomplish that. And so the idea around the pay-as-you-go tractor finance product is we're providing our partner financial institutions with the ability to finance a tractor, and that tractor comes to the borrower with a fully booked route, with farmers organized along that route. The not only earn a profit, but ensure that machine is working to generate revenue to pay down that loan at a debt service coverage that will never go below 2 times monthly debt service. And another key feature to this product, which I'm really excited about, is as the tractor owner is working the land and delivering that impact with their equipment, they're actually amortizing the loan at a rate that is greater than the depreciation rate on the underlying asset. And what that does is protect the collateral value to the investor to ensure that in a default scenario, which is what will happen, if the collateral is seized and resold into the market, you'll get your full invested amount back. So there's some additional protection there. Here's the workflow for a typical borrower. The borrower finances the tractor they receive with the tractor, the implements that they need to service their book of business, along with the technology. They also get training for themselves on how to manage a tractor operation. We have a curriculum that we've developed and refined over the last 6 years. And then, of course, they're assigned an operator who's trained on the equipment, best practices with that equipment, how to deliver services that optimizes the farmer's yields. And with that machine comes that a route plan designed with farmers along that route who've been pre-organized. And we work in many instances with a lot of large companies who come to us as a single source vendor to provide them with mechanization to meet their supply chain needs. These are companies like Diageo, Sakari here in Kenya, East Africa Breweries, ABL. There's a number of companies that need their supply chain to improve their yields. And instead of going to 1,000 different tractor owners, they can come to us, sign one contract. We take that contract, we break it up into smaller pieces. And as we engage with these finance tractor owners, as well as our existing customers on the platform, because we do have, of course, equipment that's also not financed, we break that up and provide the opportunity for the machine owner to own the equipment with that book of business. And we have field agents out there making sure every day that those tractor owners are going out delivering the services that our enterprise customers require in their supply chain, all digitally tracked through our technology. And as they're delivering those services, our partners pay us, and then we then deduct the loan repayments from that and pay our tractor owners once we deduct those payments. So over the years, we've been pretty successful in making sure that our customers are satisfied. I think what we're most impressed with is our ability to use our brand to crowd in partners, some of the best corporations, some of the best supply chain partners at the top of the funnel to ensure that we have a sustainable business model that we can sell services into. And that's on the demand side of our market. But we do that while maintaining a net promoter score all the way down at the smallholder level that's significantly higher than most net promoter scores you'll see in ag tech. Is more like an Apple type company. And we're really proud of that because we invest a lot of money in the last mile and a lot of effort to make sure that our farmers are satisfied, that they're receiving the services that they need, and that the stickiness between our farmers and our tractor owners is there. So once a customer, always a customer, we can go back to them because they appreciated the services. And in fact, one of the only negative remarks that we get on from our last mile customers is the unavailability of tractors in the next season and the season after that, because they were satisfied with the service. But because there's such a dearth of machinery, oftentimes the tractor owner will go out, perform a great service, and then next season they're distracted by some work somewhere else. And that just is a testament to the pent up demand in the marketplace. But thank you for your time. You know, we are interested in raising some additional funds to finance more tractors. In Kenya, those funds are coming in at above market returns. I'm talking about the coupons going out to our investors. Those investments are secured by the tractor as collateral, and we manage that actively through our experience in the marketplace. So we love to partner with you. But thanks for your time. I think I'm at 10 minutes now.
Yeah, you did. Thank you so much, Oliver, for that great presentation and that succinct, description of the model. If you have any questions for Oliver and Hello Tractor, kindly please feel free to put them in the chat box. But Maina, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but I see you have packed questions. So please feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask them.
Oliver, great presentation. I think we've met last year's SunCalc, but I'm curious, what drove the decision to go into the financing aspect? Is this demand driven, that you needed more tractors than you already had?
Yeah.
Or did you want to diversify your revenue stream?
Well, to be honest with you, it's a little bit of both. All right. I'm not going to pretend like this isn't a profitable business for us. It is, Matt. But I think what initially directed us to this opportunity was we were hitting a ceiling in the markets that we operate in. We do pretty good with saturating the market with our technology. In Nigeria, where we started, which is the only country we even have a sales team, because most of the technology, quite honestly, is sold directly to the dealers, and we do a pretty good job of getting it out there to the end customer through the dealer channel. But in Nigeria, we have about half of every single tractor in that country is operating on the Hello Tractor platform. And so you can't even expect to get beyond that, right? That's pretty good saturation. And so the question is, how do we grow the market? And that's what led us to this idea of financing tractors to not only have more machinery for us to put our technology on, but also to meet that pent-up demand in the market from these smallholder farmers that need the equipment to enhance their productivity, and they simply just don't have access because there's not enough supply in the market. So this was our response to that. And so far it's been, it's been a pretty good response. It's a brand new product, and we already have some pretty good commitments from asset lenders here in Kenya. And these are purely commercial players. And then in Nigeria, we're working with Islamic Development Bank in Nigeria.
Okay.
Nice. Had one more question.
Go ahead.
Good to see you again, by the way. You got to turn your video on though.
1 second. So the other question is on what the slide with the yields or the benefits of the tractor compared to the normal way of doing things. I just saw there's something about ripped yields and non-ripped yields. Just could you explain what that means?
Yeah, so we just wanted to give an example of the difference in yields for a specific activity. So ripping the soil is a conservation agricultural activity that a farmer can use to maintain soil quality, soil fertility over the long run, and improve water resource management by breaking the hard pan, making sure the soil is absorbing that water, that rainwater. And so we use that example because it also speaks to our commitment to conservation agriculture and supporting the farmer beyond just disc plow service, which is what most farmers know in these markets. There's a lot of ways that we can go beyond just disking, leapfrog what we see in more advanced agricultural economies to promote some of these proven practices before that muscle memory sets in with these farmers who will just request disc plow service because that's what they're used to doing. So we're introducing some of these new techniques. And it's been an interesting journey because getting farmers to change their behavior is damn near impossible. But it's worth the effort because when you improve their yields, honestly, the numbers don't lie, right? And so that's where we're focused on some of these areas that have the conservation benefit, the environmental benefit, while improving the farmer's bottom line, right? And where that intersection exists is where we focus our time.
Great. Yeah, and then another question that just came in. So I guess the point is, Oliver, could you take the audience again through your revenue model and where exactly you actually make the money?
Where do we make money? We sell technology. We sell it to tractor dealers who sell it, sell their equipment with our technology fitted onto the tractor. It helps them improve, it improves their after sales support because now they're getting engine hour data, they're getting tractor location data. They have better supply chain management with that data. And then we upsell the customer now because they have a telematics box on their tractor. They want to track their equipment too, so that's another revenue opportunity. These are both SaaS revenue opportunities. And then in our marketplace, we do charge a booking commission for jobs that we bring to our tractor owners. So it's kind of a three-pronged revenue model, but all SaaS with some fee income in the marketplace for connecting the farmers to the tractor or the customer.
Right. So yeah. Yes. So for now, I think that's it from the audience. Just going through Elizabeth's message here. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for now, I think that's it from the audience, Oliver. But thank you so much for taking the time. I know I had shared sort of your material prior with the investors who are on the call. So I'm sure they'll be reaching out, separately in case, in case they would want to have further conversations with you.
Okay. Your internet is amazing, Mercy. This is incredible. I mean, this is like, I feel like I'm watching CNN right now. This is incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's not Zuku. I can tell you that.
I'm sure a lot of money went into this, Oliver. So thank you. We really appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. So I see we got a hold of David from Sanergy as well. So David, if you're online, can you hear us?
Very clearly. Sorry I was late, but here I am.
No worries, David. So I think my colleague will give you hosting rights. And so whenever you're ready, let us know if you're able to host. Sort of
sure.
share.
Let's do it. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, share screen. Oh, here
Are
we
you
go.
able to use it?
Yeah, here we go. Great, all right. So good evening, everyone. Apologies again for being a moment late. It was with good reason, meeting with government officials, which is a big part of our job. And so my name is David Auerbach. I am the co-founder of Sanergy, a social enterprise based here in Nairobi, Kenya, where we started back in 2011. And we're all about using circular economy approaches to manage waste, sanitation and organic waste, and converting that into valuable agricultural inputs. Here it goes. So, you know, we come from this from the premise of cities growing extremely quickly. Slum populations are going to increase from 1 billion citizens today to more than 3 billion citizens by 2050. As these cities grow, there is a lot of waste, over 1 billion tons per year of organic and sanitation waste. And the way that things are set up right now, 90% of that waste is never treated. This has huge challenges in Kenya and in Nairobi, where we work. You know, in Nairobi, we have about 2,000 tons of organic and sanitation waste every day that is decomposing in open dumps and landfills. This leads to everything from increased water pollution to increased health risks to Kenya's GDP actually suffering from about 1 to 2% loss due to sanitation and waste-related diseases. This also has a profound impact on GHGs, leading to increased CO2 emissions and other carbon-related emissions. The other challenge what we look at is what happens on the agricultural side. You know, Kenya is an arid country, and has also been very dependent on synthetic fertilizers. So what we're able to do, what we look to do is how can we restore soil fertility, as well as how can we promote regenerative agriculture through our work around promoting sustainable animal feed sources. And so this is our model. We apply a circular economy approach to solving waste management challenges for booming cities. In the top right, you can see what we're up to is us building our network of sanitation facilities. We build not only sanitation facilities, but also the infrastructure to be able to collect organic waste around the city. What we then do is transport that waste. We collect the waste and transport it in a professional, formalized way. We then take that waste to our processing plant, which is the largest in East Africa, and then we convert it into valuable agricultural inputs. This includes organic fertilizer and insect-based animal feed and biomass fuels. This is how it starts. You can see we're collecting from all sorts of sources, you know, ranging from public markets, agribusiness, to our big sanitation network, which you can see in the top on the right side here. We have about 3,500 facilities that serve about 140,000 people living in informal settlements in Nairobi and now also in Kisumu. We then provide a safe and professional waste collection service. You know, this may not sound like a big deal to investors calling in from abroad, but this is a huge deal. You know, there's very little formalized waste collection services with consistency, with professionalism. And so being able to provide that on a regular basis is a highly valued service. And then we take it, as I mentioned, to this large processing plant. This is where the waste is being upcycled into these valuable agricultural inputs. The first of these is insect-based animal feed. So we're rearing a colony of black soldier fly larvae. These larvae are indigenous to equatorial climates. They eat organic and sanitation waste quite voraciously. They get big, they get fat, and when they get really fat, what we do is harvest them, pasteurize them, and dry them, and the end product is 40% protein. This protein is really, really valuable for animal feeds, especially for poultry, fish, and pork. And so we then sell this on to feed millers who are putting this into their specialty mixes. The larvae leave behind a residue, and that residue gets co-composted into organic fertilizer, which you're seeing in the bottom left corner. This organic fertilizer is really valuable for horticulture, helping crops grow. We're seeing farmers seeing significant increases by about 30%. Or what we can do is convert the residue into biomass fuels. So we briquette it and make a convenient fuel source for Kenya's local industry, where often factories are very dependent on boilers to power operations. So this is what we do. Our animal feed has had really a great success so far. We're selling this to feed millers who are adding it, as I mentioned, as a substitute for fish meal, which is mostly being sourced from Lake Victoria, but from omena, which are sardines, and so we're replacing that. This has a market potential of about $65 million here in Kenya alone, and this is not uncommon across most countries within Africa. We have letters of intent already to be able to sell over 150 tons of what we're producing, and this is going extremely well with our production facility. Our fertilizer, Evergrow, is sold through a reseller model where we work with about 200 agri-vets across 10 counties. And these agri-vets sell this on to smallholder farmers. We're working with about over 1,000 farmers on this, as well as key clients who are running larger farms. We've got EcoCert certification, so this is actually suitable for export farms that are also growing horticulture. And we see this as a market potential of in Kenya alone of about $500 million. So where are we? So far, we've been able to serve over 140,000 people every day with safe sanitation. We collect about 15,000 tons of waste per year. All of that waste is treated, making it a zero waste solution. And then we serve over 1,000 farmers who have increased incomes due to our products. At the same time, we're seeing 50,000 tons of CO2 emission offsets, making this a climate positive solution. We're here at Sankalp because we're raising 5 million additional in equity to scale up our operations, to prove the factory economics, and to build a pipeline for a new factory expansion to take this to other cities like Kisumu and Kigali. This growth it's a really exciting time to be able to join a company that is on the cusp of profitability and is in search of a few extra investors to join us. And indeed, you are joining a great team of about 200 people, with extremely diverse backgrounds, and over 95% of our team is from Kenya. We've also been able to attract some great investors to date, including Novastar, FinFund, DFC, the U.S. government, and then of course, and recently we brought in AXA, an institutional investor, through their Biodiversity and Climate Change Fund. We've also got significant support from the Kenyan government for what we do, which is always extremely important and valuable as you look to, first of all, de-risk these investments and also achieve scale. And so this is where I'll stop. I just wanted to, but we are looking for new partners, and we're really excited to find people who are thinking like us and wanting to invest in game-changing solutions to improve cities like Nairobi and hundreds of other places. Thanks.
Thank you so much, David. That was really great. So I know I missed Elizabeth's question in the previous, pitch. So Elizabeth, I hope Oliver has been able to sort of respond to you directly. But I guess I'll give you a chance now. If you do have any questions for David from Sanergy, I'll let you call first. So if you have any questions, Elizabeth, please feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead.
Thanks, Mercy. And yeah, Jihil got me on a direct message, so not a problem there. But no, I'll let some others discuss, have some questions for David. David and I had some long conversations last year, so don't want to take up anyone else's time.
Great hearing from you, Elizabeth. So there's one question around, your sales mix for the different products that you have, David.
Yeah. Sure. So yeah. So for the sales products that we have. So yeah. So do you mean from a revenues perspective? I'm sorry for the question asker.
Maina, do you want to clarify that? Is it from a revenues perspective?
I would say from both revenues and volumes perspective.
Sure. At the recent factory that we built, so we're going to be at a point where we have the capacity to process about 70,000 tons of waste per year. And from that, we'll be producing about 3,000 tons of the animal feed. And that'll represent about 40% of our revenues. We'll be doing about 5,500 tons of fertilizer, and that'll be also about 40% of the revenues. And then we'll do about 7,000 tons in briquettes, but that's about 10% of the revenues. And then the remaining 10% of revenues will come from waste collection services. So contracts working with various companies around Nairobi from who we collect the waste.
Okay. And then what would you say is the biggest hindrance of growth? Because clearly it seems to us that you've figured out, the collection side of the business. So what would be your biggest hindrance or risk?
Well, so yeah, I mean, so our biggest hindrance, I mean, right now, we spent the last 2 years building this factory. And so obviously I would have probably said that was the biggest hindrance, but now it's built and is operational. And so now we're in the process of scaling up our waste collection and so one thing, one challenge that we have to prove, and we have been extremely successful at this to date, but obviously when you're going from 15,000 to 60,000 tons of waste, you have to be able to, or 70,000 tons, you have to be able to collect all of that waste. And so that's been the big challenge for us. We've been able to diversify by being able to start working with the city of Nairobi on collecting from public markets, as well as working with various agribusiness who have a lot of waste and need support in that being collected too. As we expand, we are looking for, we know that it's taken us 8-9 years to get to where we are. And obviously from an expansion perspective, we've learned a lot, and so we're ready to expand. But the key challenge is being able to work closely with cities and ensure there's a strong enabling environment for us to do rapid replication of the model that we've created.
Right. And speaking of scaling, just for the benefit of everyone on the call, if you could just take us through, your scaling strategy again, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. So our scaling strategy. So right now, obviously, we have this large, we have the large facility here in the outskirts of Nairobi. Over the next year, the goal is to get that profitable. At the same time, we are beginning to replicate in Kisumu, and actually, the Kenya investment mechanism has been extremely helpful on this. So thank you to Roger and the team and John who are on this. And so this is part of our expansion strategy. At the same time, we've been working very closely with a variety of consultants to be able to set up bankable business plans for expansion. And so our goal next year is to then begin to expand into 3 other places. And then by 2026, our goal is to be processing about 1 million tons of waste per year, which will represent us being in approximately at least 10 cities across the East Africa region.
Okay, and then this is just for my own benefit, David, but would you be open to a syndicated deal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great.
Why not?
Money is money, yeah.
No, right. I mean, it's more for us. It's more important who the investors are, not and we'll get to the right structure. But if you have the right investors, you can get to the right structure. So.
Thank you so much, David. Again, as mentioned, I did share David's investment teaser on the digital directory folder, so please feel free to go through that material. And if you want a direct facilitation, I would be happy to do that. For now, as we invite another David from Kentegra to join us. Just a quick shout out while he sets up. Quick shout out to actually Kim, the Kim team, the Kenya Investment Mechanism. And I guess I'll give Roger a couple of minutes in the end to just take us through what they do. But quick shout out for helping us organize, the enterprises that are pitching today. Yes.
Great, thanks so much. Imagine a world where cancer is not seen as commonplace and poverty is alleviated. Kentegra is seeking to support these initiatives as a business. As beautiful as these look, this is the world's most powerful potent pesticide on the planet. These are freshly picked pyrethrum flowers. We see the organic market growing at 15% year over year. That doubled every 5 years. With COVID, we are seeking an uptick in demand for buyers seeking natural products. The worldwide market is currently 3 times underserved between manufacturing and providing quality supply. Kentegra has a smallholder outgrower model where we recruit and train farmers to grow pyrethrum flowers. Kentegra purchases these flowers from our farmer partners using a cashless, Bluetooth-enabled technology to then transport the dried flowers to our manufacturing facility at the export processing zone at Athi River location outside of Nairobi. Kentegra then produces an active ingredient to then sell out internationally to formulating companies in the insecticide and pesticide market. This cash crop is used, and it used to be the 3rd largest export crop in Kenya, behind coffee and tea, and Kentegra seeks to revitalize this industry to support hundreds of thousands of jobs. Depending upon which audience you're chatting with, Kentegra is producing this honey-looking or cognac-looking product called pale refined extract, 50% weight by weight. This product is approved for organic use and is sustainable, good for the earth. We feed over 200 million acres of farmland in the organic space, seeking access to this active ingredient and the pesticides that are used. So we are the first pyrethrum purpose-built factory in the last 2 decades, leveraging the latest technology and industrial chemical design practices to provide an efficiency edge in the market. This process is to recruit farmers in Kenya to transition into the crop. Kenya is the perfect growing location because of the equatorial environment, volcanic soil, and high altitude. We need 1,800 meters or higher to optimize the pyrethrum content in the flowers, kind of like a gasoline grade. The higher the altitude, the better the grade. Kentegra is the only pyrethrum commercially licensed seed producer in Kenya. Just so you know, that took us 2 years to obtain. Once we purchase the dried flowers, either sun-dried or solar-dried, we then ship our 38,000 square foot facility at the export processing zone in Athi River, just located outside of Nairobi, Kenya. From there, we grind up the dried flowers into a flower grist and then extract it into crude oleo resin, COR for short, step number 3. Then we refine the crude OR into pale refined extract, 50% weight by weight, to then ship it out by air internationally. This active ingredient can be used for biocides, so think hospitals, hotels, home sprays, or aerosols, or can be used for agricultural use for crop protection and food security. Or lastly, can be used for pharmaceutical use, so think flea, tick, lice shampoo. So I actually have 4 daughters trying to go to bed right now, and it's nice to know that we have a natural product to fight that off. If you're familiar with Kenya or sub-Saharan Africa, you've heard of the desert locust. We're currently working with FAO, Ministry of Agriculture, Pest Control Products Board, and the Plant Protection Department here in Kenya to assist formulators with a natural alternative to the organophosphates that are being sprayed to fight the locust currently. The current toxic sprays are harmful for the people coming into contact with them and increases the toxicity levels in the food we eat and the air we breathe. So how does this work? Kentegra provides planting materials from our seedling nursery to support farmers to transition into the crop. The crop grows every 2 weeks, kind of like the flower heads being picked off of a marigold. We provide an off-taker contract to our farmers in exchange for those planting materials that we provide. We then extract and refine the flowers to then sell all over the world. So currently we have over 5 million USD in orders and over $25 million in letters of intent lined up. So my name is David Payne, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Kentegra. My job is to lead and support the sales efforts for the company. I also wear the marketing and fundraising hat as well. So the 2 hardest challenges in East Africa and Kenya in the light manufacturing space, one of those challenges is access to liquidity. So that's why we're here today. Kentegra is seeking growth capital to support expanding the business. We've been fortunate enough to close an $8 million USD Series A equity raise this year. Second hardest challenge is continuous supply of electricity. The power at my home goes out just about every day. You can imagine if the power goes out in the middle of a manufacturing run or a lab test, we then need to fire up the expensive diesel generator and start over. This can be very costly for the business. So we're seeking to move up country and leverage the geothermal power here in Kenya to support our manufacturing process to be more cost effective. Shown in the slide in 2023. We can then scale the business from there. So currently we've recruited over 9,200 farmers in 7 of the potential suitable 20 pyrethrum growing counties in Kenya historically. We actually have 21 buying zones. So let's talk about life change. This is Mary. She's a displaced person from Turkana County, which is located in the northern part of Kenya. She relocated to Iburu in Nakuru County with 50 of her family clan. She currently supports 7 dependents. Most farmers in the area request to grow 1 acre of pyrethrum, 1 acre of potatoes, and 1 acre of maize to diversify the growing base of their 3-acre farm. Mary is entrepreneurial and went all into the pyrethrum, growing 3 acres in pyrethrum at once. She now has private health insurance for her and her family, and she's paying all the school fees for her children, and she's building a stone house. This is transformational. Here's a sample of flower purchase in Nakuru County as well. This represents one of our 21 buying zones in those 7 counties in Kenya. And as you can see, we have 3 tons of dried flowers in these bags, those sisal bags, from approximately 211 farmers at this purchasing event. Farmer and community impact. This is so much about why our company exists, probably as my fellow colleagues are presenting, and what drives our team. It drives our field team, factory team, executive team, and our entire company. Our company is bringing opportunity to thousands of farmers now and tens of thousands of farmers in the coming years. The pyrethrum revival is real and alive to us. Pyrethrum is the epitome of a cash crop in Kenya, as it provides for a monthly recurring income for up to 10 months of the year and producing an income that is 4 to 10 times more than alternative crops. So look at the photo in this slide. Farmer Pauline and her husband Martin are currently growing about 1 acre of pyrethrum and earning over $90 a month, which is about 15x more than the $60 an acre they earn growing corn or maize for the entire year. They are now expanding to over 2 acres so that they can produce more flowers and realize more income. Everybody wants to grow pyrethrum now. And now that we have the seeds and planting materials, we're able to partner with many more farmers. The impact of pyrethrum in the community of Iburu has been pretty dramatic. Iburu is a remote, impoverished farming community located at the top of a dormant volcano about 2.5 hours northwest of Nairobi. The impact of pyrethrum can be felt and seen very clearly in this community where we have about 1,000 farmer partners. As a couple examples, just 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, there were only 5 butcher shops in the greater Iburu area. Now there are 11. They had 3 M-Pesa shops for getting money, and now there's 14. Most importantly, and so encouraging, pyrethrum farmers are more easily and more consistently able to pay their children's school fees. Again, as folks should know, school fees are a top priority for Kenyan families, and yet sadly, they often fall short and their kids are not able to go to school. Income from pyrethrum is making this less of an issue. This is one of our farmer partners, Duncan. So please check out his house on the left-hand side and then the stone house on the right. After 3 years of partnering with Kentegra, he told me that the first thing he noticed when he moved into this new house was having light in his home. It's for him, and then being more respected in the community as he has a stone house, transformational. Of the SDG goals, I believe Kentegra hits about 13 of them. It's fantastic. So here's a recent picture of our factory. This is an update since presenting at Sancalp last year. We have fully commissioned our factory and are cash flowing on a monthly basis. We will actually make more revenue in Q1 of this year than all of 2020 combined. Very exciting times. So we've hired the best and the brightest engineers to support the manufacturing process. This is one of our engineers, Michael. He comes from the top industrial chemical engineering school in Kenya and has been an incredible asset to the team in supporting the growth and scale of Kentegra. So here's the ask. So we're currently scaling the factory from 1 refinement skid and extraction skid to phase 2 in the middle there. So with 2 each, 2 refinement and 2 extraction skids at the Athi River location to produce the crude OR and the PRE 50% weight by weight. So we will be break even, similar to David, as a business in phase 2, with approximately 70 tons of dried flowers per month coming into the factory. Currently, we receive just north of 35 tons per month. We anticipate to achieve break even by late Q3 or early Q4 of this year. Phase 3 is a permanent facility that we can scale as the market and farmers expand with us. We have already obtained 3x in LOIs of the production capacity of the phase 2 EPZ facility. So it's fantastic market traction. Given this demand, we will want to improve on to phase 3 as soon as we're able to. So as you can see, we're seeking $3 million in debt in the near term to support phase 2 execution. As we're currently generating revenue on a monthly basis and from our newly commissioned factory, We believe this should provide confidence to our funders in support of phase 2 and phase 3 capital needs of 20 million. So lastly, like my other colleagues, our heart is for the farmers. We want this to be a generational business to support the next generation of farmers and leaders to help provide human flourishing here in Kenya. Asante sana.
Asante sana, David. Really appreciate that. So please feel free to include any questions that you have for David on the chat. Could be happy to take those. But just as we wait for those to come through, David, I saw you had sort of rub-ins with the minister just recently. So could you just take us through that while you wait for questions to come through?
So I would ask which minister. We actually talk to a lot of different components, as my colleagues I'm sure do as well. In order to do this business, you have to register the products that you sell out locally and internationally. So we have to work a lot with the Ministry of Agriculture and the Pest Control Products Board. There's also another organization called AFA, which is the Agriculture Food Authority. They support all the crops produced. So think of cotton, tea, fish, coffee, and pyrethrum. So they're our regulator, which is a subset underneath the Ministry of Agriculture. And we also connect with folks in the trade and EPZ departments, as the EPZ export processing zone is like the Vatican, right? You have to have certain customs clearance in order to export. And then we also work very closely with our governors, deputy governors, and CECs of agriculture to help promote pyrethrum in the counties that we're working with. So as I mentioned, we're in 7 currently. Does that help?
Yeah, it really does. And for the benefit of everyone on the call, could you school us on, where pyrethrum is actually being grown, its seasons, so that we just sort of give context to the investors on the call?
Sure. So the flower grows about 10 months out of the year. It's a perennial, so it comes back for about 4 or 5 years before the pie content starts to degrade. So the 7 counties that we're currently in is West Pokot, Marakwet, and then we're in Nakuru, Nindaro, Laikipia, Bomet, and Kericho.
All right. So the first question is around, the competitive landscape for your product. Kindly take us through that.
Sure. So currently internationally, I would say there's 3 major providers outside of us. The number one is called BRA, cleverly named Botanical Resources Australia, based out of Australia. They're in Tasmania, just south of the mainland. They have a mechanized process that maybe Hello Tractor could assist them with. But they basically harvest combines 1 time per year. Because Kenya's on the equator, plus or minus 3 degrees of the equator, the flower here in Kenya grows every 2 weeks because of the sun. So what's fantastic is we have an incredible competitive advantage where our flowers get picked every 2 weeks, where in Australia they go once a year. 2 other competitors, one is called Supirwa out of Rwanda, owned by 4 generals. They've had a very terrible crop production in 2020 and they're struggling a bit. I wish them the best. And then there's another one called MGK. They have an ownership percentage out of a company called PCT, Pyrethrum Company of Tanzania, cleverly located in Tanzania. They're also owned by a large agrochemical company called Sumitomo, if you've ever heard of them, very, very large. So those are the major players in the marketplace today.
Dan, I see you have, packed questions. So I'd allow you to unmute yourself and go for it.
Oh yeah, hi Dave. Yeah, I guess just for two unrelated questions. The first one was just curious, having smaller farmers shifting to their production from corn and other low value crops to pyrethrum. Was just curious, what are the risks? Are there any climate risks associated with that, and how do you work with them on, making that shift in a sustainable way?
Yeah, I think weather resilience is a really important question. One of the things that we've done is we've diversified our growing areas to make sure if it doesn't rain on this side of the hill, we'll catch the other side. But if a farmer is going to make a 15x turn versus an alternative crop in the same land area, actually the marketing, the transition to the crop has just been word of mouth, and it's been fantastic. So one of our mottos is, which I didn't mention, is just paying our farmers timely, fairly, and serving them with integrity. We're leveraging in-pace payments. There's no skimming process, minimizing corruption potential. So it's audible, traceable, reportable, repeatable, scalable. So as we do that process, we see other farmers getting paid, and then they say, hey, why don't you jump in and let's get going? So word of mouth has been fantastic. Side selling is not an issue because we don't see many major players in pyrethrum in the space. The refinement process is incredibly complicated. You can imagine you have to have market off-taker to sell to earn income to then pay the farmers. So we've successfully done that from seed to sale. Now we're just looking to expand our factory capacity to keep up with the growth capacity of what we think Kenya can offer. Does that help?
Okay. I guess I was just wondering more like, is the what risks do farmers take in terms of just growing this one crop? Is it more resilient to like climate shocks, to pest disease versus growing other cash crops? And if there are risks to flooding or drought or pest, like are there things that you guys help them with, or that think through like adequate is having a quarter of your land used to pyrethrum, not converting all of it, or how sort of is best to manage that?
Yeah, maybe I'll start with, most farmers have 3 acres, as I gave in my Mary example, where they do 1 for pyrethrum, 1 for potatoes, and 1 for maize, just to diversify their portfolio. I have another farmer that just said, hey, I'm going to stop doing potatoes on my next bumper harvest and do 2 in pyrethrum because I'm making so much money. The crop is actually drought resistant, so it's a tough little bugger. So if it dries, it kind of hibernates a bit and then it pops back out. From disease and pest, there's some thrips and aphids that are sometimes a challenge. We actually have farmer relationship officers that run around in pikis, which is Kiswahili for motorcycles. And we actually have tablets, and we do geofencing, and we map in actually all the areas of farmland for farmers. We do PPI, probability of poverty index tracking for our farmers. And then we also have soil sample tests. So we actually take those soil samples. We won a grant from the EU, partnering with Crop Nuts, and we have a soil sample lab in Turimolo, where we actually provide feedback to farmers and say, hey, here's the ideal other 2 crops that you could do after a 4-year rotation and maximize your yield for your farm.
Cool, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, I guess if as long as there's no other question, otherwise I'm happy to yield to anyone else. Yeah, the other piece I was just curious is kind of who the actual end customers are here, but happy to let anyone else jump in. I don't want to dominate the questioning.
I'm happy to answer that one. As a sales guy, I really enjoy it. So sorry, Mercy. So we're actually selling to 5 different continents now. We have 20 different companies across 15 different countries. So as a linguistic guy, I absolutely adore understanding the culturalisms of those types of sales. Confidentially, just today, I was talking to South Africa. I was talking to Belgium. I was talking to Korea and Japan. So we've been selling all over the world, and the future's pretty bright. So most of the buyers are active ingredient distributors and formulators to an end product. So if you know, like mosquitoes, SC Johnson spray off. So we're an organic, natural version of that DEET that's inside of that. So we can sell to SC Johnson, Bayer, or other formulators that are interested in the product.
All right. I think that's it for today, David. Thank you so much for keeping it brief as well. We really do appreciate your time. In case you want to reach out to David, please feel free to chat him directly on the platform, or you can let us know and we'll be able to sort of facilitate a direct connection with him. That said, we have our last entrepreneur of the day. We'll have Julian. So Julian.
Good evening, everyone. Great. I hope that's working for everyone now. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Insipra Farms presentation. Some of you have seen this last year. It was led by Mina Sparenblad. I've taken over this year as I'm newly joined as the CEO of Insipra Farms. I started just over a month ago now, so I'm fairly new to this. But I'm already deep within the company, and I've spoken to a lot of customers and now really getting to grips with the problem. So yeah, Insipra Farms, cool in the future. So what's the problem we're trying to solve? The real problem we're trying to solve is the massive disparity between the performance of farms in the developing world and really Africa versus the kind of developed world. And I'll give you an example of that. The same produce produced in Africa attracts something like 56% of the global average on a produce level against a ton. And that just that chronic underperformance of these farmers is not down to, rather down to many factors, a lot of them systematic and infrastructural. And the problem that Insipra Farms is really trying to deal with is the access to cooling. Typically, when you look at fresh produce, and you take a European or US example, something like 97% of the fresh produce will be cooled or chilled. In Africa, it's something like 3%. Imagine, right? Even if that number's off by a factor of 2 or 3, it's just still nowhere near what it should be. And what that lack of access to cooling really means is massive, massive losses. So while much effort has been spent, across research and various kind of other activities in the past several decades to kind of improve yields, if you're losing it all at the post-harvest phase, it's not great either, is it? So yeah, we've seen losses of upwards of 35% on some of our high value fresh crops. And that's just unbelievably tough on the farmer for them to make a profit and actually build a sustainable business on that. Where do the losses come from? Well, come from all sorts of areas, actually. So it's simple things like if you take a long time from getting your crop from the field, removing the field heat and getting into the cooling system, and often the access to the current cooling chain, can be not just tens of kilometers, but hundreds of kilometers down into kind of local or regional networks. You end up losing a lot of the quality of the fruit or the vegetable. You also end up losing a lot of the moisture can disappear. So farmers are forced to overpack their boxes for export, because if they do that, they need to make sure they hit the right weights going on. Ultimately, it just results in a massive reduction in the price per kilo for their produce. So it's just very bad news. The other thing is the quality. As the quality starts to deteriorate with poor access to the cool chain, you end up having to choose a faster route to market, which of course means aeroplanes. And if you send your produce by aeroplane and not by sea, of course it's more expensive. So the lack of infrastructure is a massive issue for these farmers and for them to realize the full potential that they're capable of doing. What are the challenges with putting this infrastructure in? It's pretty simple. It's CapEx. And it's really, in farms that are not cash rich, getting a hold of the CapEx for what is effectively a fairly cash intensive cooling and packhouse system is not straightforward. The result of this is pure and simple, is lack of access to markets. So a lot of these farmers just cannot get access to exporters, access to markets they should through the export networks. And I think just that quote there, you'll see there, for every hour of delay of getting a berry into the cool chain could result in a day of life, a day's loss of shelf life. And when you look at that on a kind of economic point of view, for one container full of berries to lose $40,000 is pretty massive when you compound that over multiple shipments of berries across a growing season. So the problem is real, this problem is big, and it gives us a real opportunity. So what does Insipra Farms really want to do? Well, we use smart, clean cold chains to help farmers reduce post-harvest loss, increase the shelf life, and move from air to sea to improve results. Put another way, sell more at a higher price with lower costs, and improve the bottom line for the farmers and build sustainable farms. All of that while using super energy efficient technology. And when I say super energy efficient, it's everything. It's the structure, it's the technology, it's the cooling, it's the design. And part of the process of how Insipra Farms sells the stuff is through a super high touch process. Our team of agronomists and sales folk work with the farmer to really understand what is it they really need to do? What does their farm look like? What is their existing infrastructure to really optimize the design of the product and make sure they get the most out of it? And then to really fill that full of technology that kind of helps in that whole process. The use of IoT has allowed us to really optimize the way we chill fruits, and different fruits can have different recipes for how you chill them to maximize the level of quality that you have. And then on top of all of that technology, we've also worked quite hard to develop financial products that will help mitigate that upfront CapEx cost. So we now offer finance sales of various guises, and we match those payments as well with the kind of income streams of farmers. So we can do it on a monthly, on a quarterly, or match it to their harvest. So as they get cash in, they can start to pay down the loan. So how do we do it? Well, we do it through packhouse and cold rooms. And like I say, no surprise, but the packhouses and cold rooms, as far as we push them far forward to the crop as we can, get them onto farm, it makes a big deal. We've also built out a real modular structure. And what that means is that, we minimize the investment the farmer needs now, but as the farmer starts to reap the benefit of our product, we can just slot in the next part of the packhouse or cool room and just continue to expand and work with the farmer and grow that investment over a period of time. Like I say, we focus a lot around the efficiency, and that is both It's both very, very kind of insulating materials, far better than the market standard. We work very deeply with the cooling suppliers as well to make sure that the way we use our cooling technology is designed so it's very minimal impact on the startup currents, and we minimize the the likely voltages that are going to be needed, so it can tolerate the sort of electrical networks that you'll get in the in rural Africa. And again, we can work both on grid, hybrid, and completely off grid. But underlying all of this is a layer of IoT that just gives us so much insight and data about how our systems work. And really, it gives the farmer a huge amount of access to understanding how their crop is when it left their pack house, and it gives them control from future rejections further down the supply chain, and they can have confidence that they know when when the crop left their farm, the sort of quality it'll be at. But it's more than that. It also allows us to put in alarm systems so that we can have safety systems such as CO2 monitoring and alerts. We can also let farms ultimately take full control of their product and support on servicing of the machines. These are investments that will last a long, long time, upwards of 10 years. So we need to make sure and work with the farmers to ensure that the products work over a long period of time and they continue to kind of reap those benefits throughout that whole period. And of course, for us, we need to do it with impact, right? The general thesis is pretty simple. If the farm does well over the long term, we're going to start to reap all of these SDGs across that I've listed there. Effectively growing the workforce of the farm grows in jobs and equipment that is Euro standard certified with all the correct phytosanitary requirements. Building out the infrastructure and the cold chain across across the countries that we work in, and then also in terms of reducing the waste of the food. There's a couple of fascinating facts. A kilogram of wasted tomatoes, a kilogram of wasted tomatoes is worth something like 10 kilograms of diesel, 10 liters of diesel. That's bonkers. It gives you off the same amount of emission as 10 liters of diesel versus a kilogram of tomatoes. That is very potent stuff. So reducing waste is more than just the profitability of the farm, it's also the impact on the climate. And then we're also trying to drive the agenda to move into gases that are as clean as they possibly can. Many of you will know that cooling gases do have a very high global warming potential. We're trying to lead the way on using gases which will be as least impactful as possible, with the highest possible technology, with the sensors enabled by the IoT to prevent leakages. So behind trying to drive the economics of the farm and the long-term sustainability of the farm, we know we have to do good at the same time to the overall community and to the environment. So what are we here to do today? Well, I want to tell you that our product market fit continues to get better and better. We've got some phenomenal case studies that have come through both in Zimbabwe and Kenya. We're very pleased to say that last time we couldn't stand here and say, but we have, since we last spoke to you, closed a Series B round, which is fabulous. And that's there really to drive growth across Africa. We've now got over 70 pack houses and cold rooms, across a multitude of countries in sub-Saharan Africa and beyond. And we're very excited. 2021 is going to be a huge year for Insipra Farms. We're expecting to 3x the revenue growth during 2021, and we expect to hit profitability at the end of some point through mid-2022. And at that similar point of seeking to get to break even, we're also going to be looking for a Series C investment. So anyone who's interested in sort of driving clean cold chain agenda, helping grow sustainable farms for the long term and access far more access the exporting markets, please get in touch.
Thank you so much, Julian. We really appreciate you taking the time. So if you have any questions for Julian, kindly feel free to please put them in the chat box and we'll take them. But as we wait for those to stream in, Julian, what would you say to investors who usually think cold chain solutions are capex intensive and have a long payback period? What would be your take on that?
Yeah, there's no denying the equipment can be capex expensive, which is exactly why we're developing the financial products, and we're doing a series of financial products that are both some which will be on balance sheet and some will be off balance sheet. So I think how we manage that capex, I think, to be honest, is less a question around the investors. Of course, we need investors to support us on the financial products, but it's really a question about how to make it work for the farmers. If you don't get these products in place in a way, in a payment mechanism that works for the farmer, then we're gonna limit the growth of Insipra Farms. I mean, remember, the role of Insipra Farms is to improve the farmer's effectiveness, right? If we push it, if a farm chooses to invest in us, they should see that their overall profitability improves over the long term. And we've got to find the right financing mechanisms to support them in that journey. We've got a series, we're partnered at the moment with some funder, there's some other partnerships that could also come off in the near term. So those mechanisms are there, they are available. There's many examples, both through my old work and through kind of some of the people on this call who've seen that are tools in place to make it affordable for the farmer. And that's something that I want to keep exploring. And there's going to be more opportunities out there. So yeah.
And speaking of farmers, Julian, how do you plan on partnering with smallholder farmers?
It's a good question. I didn't put it in the presentation, but effectively, we actually see quite different strategies in different parts of the continent. So, the East African context really kind of does support work with smallholder farmers. We've got typically some of the smallholder farmers, you can't really put some cold room directly on some of the smallest of small farms, but you can work with the aggregators who've already got those relationships. You can build in those aggregators. So there's different kind of size, depending on the size of the farm, there's different kind of products and offerings. So we start actually at something pretty small, kind of 20-foot container level with pre-chilling. So don't think reefers, think absolutely very smart with IoT, backup generator, solar or grid. To pre-chill the equipment, to pre-chill the produce on farm. So we can do some pretty light stuff. We can do some pretty light stuff at the farm level, but typically we'll work with the aggregators as well, who've already got those existing relationships. And if you get the right financial product with the aggregator, you can start to have an impact on a massive community of farmers. Going up a level, we also work with some of the bigger farmers, such as the Kakuzis, the KHEs, and the people who are really used to this stuff. And that's where we've got some fantastic facilities available. But we've got to manage across that whole strata, right? Because there is so many smallholder farmers in Kenya who should be able to access export markets and get some of the hard currency back in to grow their businesses. So right product for the right market. We're also working at the moment in West Africa. We're in the process of developing a really massive pineapple exporting facility with the government of Benin. That's going to be transformational for the pineapple farmers in Benin. Over the last decade, they've not been able to export pineapples to Europe. Certainly, we're going to provide a mechanism to help them do that. Again, transformational, but huge, big projects on one hand, right the way down through to quite small projects, frankly, with some smallholder farmers in the right place, such as Kenya and East Africa.
All right, and keeping on with the theme of returns, so Dan asks, other than the issue on, capex intensive for hardware solutions, usually there's no recurring revenue sale. So basically, how do you address that challenge?
Do you mean recurring revenue for Insipra Farms?
Sorry?
I didn't get the question. Sorry, you dropped slightly. Could you just repeat that?
Yeah. So the question is around, recurring revenues for the solution that you actually have. First of all, could you take us through whether you have such revenues?
Yeah. So look, currently we're based on a more of a project-based model and an asset financing-based model. That is what will kind of see us through for the next kind of sort of 6 to 12 months. Beyond that, we're absolutely moving towards more of a service and an OPEX-based model. Smallest unit, which is like I said, 20-foot container that goes on the farm, that is already on a reoccurring model. So it's as little as €850 per month for the farmers. But that's still very much in pilot stage, and we're still kind of figuring out how to make sure that that can scale to be dozens, if not hundreds more of these units. So the move towards an OPEX-based model is happening at the smallholder level. We've also got some partnerships working with 3PLs, particularly in, again, West Africa, where there will be more of an OPEX-based approach. Primarily at the moment, we are looking at the CapEx-based model. And then longer term, post-Series C, you're going to see a much more of a focus towards an OPEX-based model to support the farmers.
I don't know whether that answers your question, Dan, or would you want to rephrase that?
Yeah, no, that's helpful. Thank you.
Cheers, Dan. And Dan, I'm very happy to chat offline if there's anything else, if you've got other questions.
Okay, thanks.
Great. So Julian, I think that's it from us this evening. Again, if you have any other specific questions for Julian, please feel free to chat him directly, and he'll be able to take those in the next couple of minutes that you're still on. But we're also happy to connect you directly with him as well. So for now,
Asante sana.
Asante sana. Yeah. So for now, I just want to give, quick shout outs to two people. First, I'll begin with, Kenya Investment Mechanism. Again, as I mentioned, they are the ones who helped us or supported us in, getting these entrepreneurs that you saw pitch today. So I'd like to welcome Roger for you to take 2 minutes to just let the audience know what you do at Q.
Great, thank you so very much. And I first want to say that I think I have one of the best jobs in the world to be able to interface and work with and support and the kinds of companies that have presented today. Really fantastic presentation, everyone. And it's really clear that the business models that you are working on are really focused, centric on transformation at the smallholder farmer level and the market level. And so congratulations to the great work that you're doing. I don't want to take really too much time or take away from really the quality of the presentations, but I think that one of the things that's important to mention is that for any of these are definitely growth stage companies. They've definitely have been working on their strategies and business models for quite some time, and you can see by their presentations that they have a really strong presence not only in their market but in their business strategies. And I hope that for some early stage companies that might be here watching, that they have taken some note of the quality of presentations that the market really demands as investors. I want to have a great shout out to the investors that are here today. This was all put together really for you all. It's great to see some of the names on the list of friends. We have some partners here. And so it's because of you that we help bring these things together. And SandCalp, we applaud all of your efforts. You were a huge support with us last year to do something very similar to this. And so I really appreciate the SandCalp team. Just very quickly, Kenyan Investment Mechanism, if you don't know, it is a USAID funded project to target mobilization of capital for enterprises in Kenya and in East Africa. We have a pipeline of over $1 billion with more than 300 enterprises and business opportunities. If you are an investor and you're looking to invest in East Africa, talk to us. We'd be happy to connect. Thank you so very much for allowing me to say hello to everyone.
Thank you so much, Roger. We are happy to have you at SandCalp and being a great supporter of SandCalp as well. The next person that I would want to invite is really one person who helped us put this together, curate it, design it as well, both from the early to growth, and lastly, the growth stage companies. He's also a great supporter of SandCalp. So I don't know whether Bill is online and he can hear us. I would want to give him a couple of minutes to also just say hi to the delegates and introduce himself as well, and why we actually put this together.
Well, thanks, Mercy. It's great to be here. In fact, I think for all of the small investors who've been participating for the last 3 days, really appreciate the efforts that you and the IntelliCap team have made to make this accessible to those of us, especially those of us who are not in the East Africa time zone. So it's really been wonderful in a way to sort of continue the tradition that some of us, for those of us that can't travel to East Africa, it's really been great not to lose the momentum that COVID has really caused for much of the world, and we can sort of stay abreast of things that are happening in East Africa, and hopefully we won't lose a beat as a result of the success of SANCALP. So thanks so much for the work that you've done in putting all of this together. It's really important to continue the momentum.
Great. Thank you so much, Bill. I don't think I could add anything on that, but thank you so much for even helping us design this session. So ladies and gents, we've actually come to the end of day 3 and SANCALP itself. We hope that you'll join us in 2022, and we do appreciate you taking the time. For those, in other time zones where it's still morning, do have a lovely rest of the day. And then for those in East Africa, have a good evening. Thank you so much. See you at SANCALP 2022.